This weekend, the latest Bad Boys film drops in theaters. So today I'm going to stop and rank all 4 Bad Boys films from the fun to the best. Hi, my name is Sean, and I love to talk about movies and TV way too much. With that in mind, go ahead and join me down below in the comment section. Share your ranking of all 4 Bad Boys films. My list isn't the right list, it's just my list, and I would love to see yours. As we go into this, I enjoy each of these films in different ways for different reasons. I don't think there's a bad film in the franchise, so keep that as a point of reference as we go into this. And if you like these types of rankings, I've done a ton of rankings of other action franchises. You can check it out in one of these playlists somewhere around here, and let's get started. Number 4, Bad Boys, the original. While it is in last, I still have fun with this film. I think it's a solid 90s buddy cop action comedy. The film feels to me like the demo tape for everything here. It is the demo tape for the franchise, where it has all the ingredients that'll be in all the rest of the films here, but it's a more restrained version of it. It's not as bombastic, it's not as big in scope and size, it's not as ridiculous, it's just a little bit more restrained, but all the pieces are there. It's like Michael Bay's demo tape. It's his first film that he directed, and while you have the dynamic camera action, you have the juvenile humor, you have these action sequences that have lots of energy to them, he doesn't have the budget that he got for the rest of his films that just make them so big, over the top in what he does in future action scenes. And so it's like a more restrained version, but it gives you a flavor for what Michael Bay has to offer. And then even for our 2 leads here, this was in terms of Will Smith's movie stardom, this is the start of it right here. He had TV fame, he'd been in some movies, but this was his big breakthrough leading role. And so you have the Will Smith charisma and swagger, but it's not as fully developed, mature, and confident as it will be in the movies that he's about to make for the next 30 years. So all the ingredients are there, but it's like that demo tape version of it. And in a certain sense, that makes this movie kind of stand out a little bit in the franchise because it is smaller in size. There's more time in apartments, having conversations, but also it misses some of what is so fun about the future films in this franchise. I think the Michael Bay formula works best when you can go full throttle, crank the sliders up to 11, and go wild and crazy, but it's the early version of all of it. The thing that really stands out about this movie for me is Téa Leoni as kind of the female lead in the film that just adds in fun, extra dynamic. It's nice to see her in the franchise, but as for the plot itself, the specifics of it doesn't normally stand out in my mind all that much. It's kind of like the movie that started it all and laid the foundation. Number 3, Bad Boys 2. Between Bad Boys 1 and Bad Boys 2, Michael Bay and Will Smith's careers exploded, where Will Smith goes on to become basically the biggest movie star in the entire world, and Michael Bay goes off to direct multiple big, gigantic, epic action films, disaster films, and then they return to the franchise that kickstarted each of their gigantic film careers, and in doing so, we get one of the biggest, glossiest cop flicks of all time, where every action sequence is just so wild and crazy. Where we do a freeway chase, how are we going to do a freeway chase? Well, we're going to throw cars at other cars, and we're dodging cars in the middle of all of this. We're going to do another car chase where dead bodies are just falling out of emergency vehicles, getting run over. We're going to do a chase through a village where everything's exploding. We're going to blow up mansions. When we do just a simple shootout in a drugstore, the camera's going to be spinning 360 around everything. This was basically Michael Bay and Will Smith in their prime going for it. You watch this movie and the action is so wild and crazy that it's just a blast to watch it. They're basically letting Will Smith and Martin Lawrence off the chain to just like riff, make jokes, go wild and crazy in all these scenarios and just kind of ooze their movie star charisma and let their comedic chops run free and wild. The fact that it is superficial is what holds it back from those top two spots for me where, like, I don't remember anything about the plot, the villain, don't care about any of that. There's no real emotion to it, but man, is it fun on the surface. Fun fact, I didn't know until doing my rewatch of the Bad Boys films, they actually did a spin-off about Gabrielle Union's character just a few years back that ran for a couple of seasons. I had no idea that happened until about a week ago. Our runner-up, Bad Boys Ride or Die. With the last two Bad Boys films, they brought in a new pair of directors, and I feel like they did a great job of building on the foundation laid by Michael Bay in the first two films. The tone was set, the chemistry between the two leads was set, the idea that we're going to blend together kind of goofy comedy with these big dynamic action set pieces, all of that was set. And then the new directors came in and were able to build on top of that. And I feel like they just kind of took it to new heights by bringing a little bit more emotion, having stronger character moments, better side characters, and plots that pop and stick out a little bit more. In the case of this movie, it's a bit of, it's the familiar plot line where in your sequel, you have our lead characters on the run, you go turn them into fugitives, like along those same lines, because of the son reveal in the previous film who's in custody, they're able to create a scenario where our characters are on the run and Will Smith is getting to be with, or Mark Lowry's getting to be with his son on an adventure. And I think that works well. The thing that I think surprised all of us going into this movie, none of us were expecting Reggie's arc to be completed with where this movie goes with it, where Reggie's the MVP of the movie. Reggie has the best scene in the movie. At my theater, everyone broke into applause after the Reggie scene, and I've heard multiple other theaters had the exact same response, and that's such a fun way to pay off what started out as the classic dad tries to scare your high school daughter's date joke.
Here to take his daughter out.
What's your name?
Reggie.
How old are you?
I'm 15, Mr. Bennett.
Motherfucker, you look 30.
This is
Can
mine.
you fight? You can fight. Oh, you motherfucker, you can't fight. Look at you.
Paid off with what Reggie does in this film. Wonderful. Just an amazing little bit. So, I think in this one, they tried to do a few things that are a little bit too creative with the afterlife stuff. Marcus's humor gets too goofy at times. And while I really enjoyed a lot of the dynamic camera work, instead of having as big and bombastic of action sequences as Michael Bay provided in Bad Boys 2, it tries to do maybe smaller scale action set pieces, but with really dynamic camera work, drone shots, and creative uses of technology to do these first-person shots. A lot of that really worked. There was a percentage that I thought was a little bit too much, and so the style called too much attention to itself rather than amplifying the energy of the sequence. But overall, this movie delivered exactly what I wanted. I think the franchise is currently riding on high. I do think the current set of directors are doing better than Michael Bay, but they're building on the foundation that Michael Bay laid. So full credit to Michael Bay at the same time for cutting the path. But coming in at number 1, Bad Boys for Life. Now, I went into this movie pretty nervous, hoping to have fun, but long-delayed sequels don't always turn out great. And from beginning to end, this movie just really surprised me as it was able to deliver everything I enjoyed and expected from the first two films, but also added a little bit more depth to the characters and more emotion in the mix. A big part of that is that the film acknowledges that our two leads are getting older, and as much as they've done life together, they've had very different lives, where Mike is the perpetual bachelor that thinks he's invincible, and Marcus is the family man whose family is growing up and going off to have their own families. And the movie acknowledges these two different paths and the way each of them would respond to different things that happen to them differently. And it challenges even that path that they're on. Mike is realizing he is vulnerable, both physically as well as emotionally. And it just adds depth to it. It bringing in this very personal story about someone seeking revenge against people in a specific trial makes you care about what's taking place. It's personal. Adding in the fact that Mike has a kid, it changes him as a character. He still has all the swagger, the charisma, he's still the man of action, but it makes him more human. And that, to me, is what elevates this one to the top. It's those character moments. You have fun action, you have the comedy, all of that stuff. It's not as big as Bad Boys 2, but it has plenty of big, exciting, thrilling action in it. The motorcycle chase where they're jumping onto a helicopter, big shootout at the end. There's a lot of creative use of the cameras. These directors are very creative in how they try to capture the action sequences. All that's in here. But you care about the characters a lot more too. Even some of the side characters they add in, the ammo squad, they complement our two leads. This is the Bad Boys film that has the best mix of all the ingredients. And it just surprised me so much. Rewatching it a week ago, it still worked for me. So it comes in at number 1. Be sure to share your ranking down below in the comment section. You can find more of my rankings in that playlist right over there. I even did a 31 on 31 where I ranked 31 action classics. Thank you so much for watching, and keep talking movies and TV too much. Bye-bye.